Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you are listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have a super awesome guest, Mr. Grant Bryan. Grant Bryan is an independent country music artist from Elizabethtown, PA, born and raised in Central PA, with family ties in Tennessee. Grant has always had a passion for music, primarily country music. Growing up, he was inspired by artists such as George Strait, Keith Whitley, Garth Brooks, and Elvis Presley. After a year spent in California, Hollywood, California, Grant moved back home and fell in love with playing his guitar again. In 2018, he decided to pursue a career in music by playing every local dive bar, brewery, and vineyard that would have him. After a full year of shows, it was time to set his sights on a bigger stage. So in 2019, he created the Grant Bryan Band and began playing local venues such as the Chameleon Club, Club XL, Fat Daddy's, and any venue looking for a country band. Today, Grant has played all throughout the Central PA region, the beaches of Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia, along with a few locations within the Nashville scene. Along in 2019, Grant released his first single, Boy I Was Back Then, and since has followed up with an additional 7 singles. Grant is also on track to release his full-length album this year. How are you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm
Good.
excited. We got a lot to go over and a really good music to talk about. So tell me, where did your music? When did the music bug bite you, as it were?
Sure, man. So, I mean, when I was a kid, the first thing I remember is just my dad just blasting every country album that he had, whether it was from Brooks and Dunn to Garth Brooks to Keith Whitley. I mean, if you remember back when maybe you do, stereos were like stacked.
Right, right.
You had your cassette deck, your CD deck. So I just remember that big CD player he had, and we would just play country music all day long. And that was really just where I found a passion for playing. And I remember being a kid, they would buy me those little microphone setups with the little guitar you would plug in, like the little Tykes rocking stage and thing. And I would play on that. And after that, man, I just loved the sound of country music. I loved the stories behind it. And that was really, really when I first kind of fell in love with country music.
So what did you do with that? When did you start picking up a guitar yourself?
Sure. So my very first guitar, my mom used to love yard sailing. So did my dad. So we would always go yard sailing, and my mom would find things and flip them. That was kind of like a side hustle she did. And I remember seeing this guitar sitting there. So my dad went over and hustled him for a few bucks, and he got me this guitar. I took it home and I started strumming it, and he tried to show me a couple chords. So I started learning to play it. It probably strummed on it for a few months, and then my cousin came over and ended up breaking the thing.
Of course.
My cousin Hank, older cousin, I heard him in there beating on it. Next thing you know, it's broken. So after that, I never really had a guitar to play. I would be over at friends' houses, or another cousin of mine, my cousin Larry, he was big into the electric guitar. So I would see him playing, and I always wanted to start playing and learning again. And then I kind of fell away from it, but still had a love for country music, and got into skateboarding at a later age. So I didn't pick up a guitar again then until later, when I was probably 24.
What a way for a country singer to go.
I know,
country
right?
singing and skateboarding, also the side trip to Hollywood.
I lived in Hollywood for a year. That
Why?
was so I just I don't know, man. When I was into skateboarding for a long time. Kind of grew my hair out like that kind of surfer look for a while, and I worked at Hollister, and I got into kind of like wanting to do like modeling and acting. So when I worked at Hollister, they would have me stand out in front of the store, and I'd get the free clothes. And I was like, oh, well, this is pretty cool. I'm getting free stuff to stand out here and promote the brand. So I kind of got into some modeling and stuff. And my cousin and I, with some girls that were from our area that were out there pursuing acting too, we moved out to California with them, Hollywood, California, right in the center of Hollywood. And we lived there for about a year and chased that acting and modeling dream.
And I'm assuming you didn't make it because you came back.
Yeah, so we were kind of in the middle, but man, the people we met our first year was insane. Like, we were there for 2 months, and we had Thanksgiving dinner up off of Mulholland Drive at one of the producers' houses of friends in the show 6 Feet Under.
Oh, wow.
We met a really cool guy, David Janilari, and we got to have dinner with him. And then through them, man, we just networked and met so many people. So, I mean, we were at parties like our first month there with Mel Gibson's agent, and just we met people through people. One of my best friends out there, Billy Clark, big in the music scene. Introduced us to like Christina Milian, and we met Lance Bass from NSYNC. We partied at his house one night, and it was just crazy the people we met. But part of me felt like I was just kind of out of my scene. So I wanted to come back and kind of regather what I was doing and who I was and what I was really chasing. And before we came back, that was when I ordered a guitar. I just ordered a cheapie on Amazon. I was like, I want to relearn guitar. Like everybody out here is so talented. I want to hone in on something I love and bring it back with me, which I never went back. But I started learning guitar as soon as I got back from Hollywood, California. And like I said, cheap little Amazon guitar, little black guitar. I still have it. And I was just playing all day long, man, just learning chords, learning songs. And then I just from there ran with it.
And so clearly this wasn't like a full-time thing for you. You wanted more of a part-time thing. So when did this become, I assume you were writing songs all throughout this time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was always writing. My senior year of high school is really, I kind of fell back in love with writing. My guidance counselor at the time threw me kind of headfirst into a creative writing class. I kind of fell out of wanting to perform well in school. I was like, I wasn't into it. I was into my skating. I was just into doing what I was doing. I didn't like what was happening in school. And, I kind of fell away from actually trying. So he was like, I'm going to throw you into this course. I think you'll like it. And I was like, dude, writing's not for me. It's not my thing. I just want to skate. I want to do what I want to do. So he threw me in creative writing, and I ended up loving the class, acing the class, came out like top of the class, and he just kind of, I told you so. So that was where I fell back in love with writing, man. And then, I would write some poetry, read some books, things like that. And then when I picked up the guitar again, that's where it all kind of started to click.
And so when did you start saying, okay, this is something I can actually do and make money doing it?
It was something I kept dreaming about. I wanted to do it. I was going to open mics. But what was funny is I would go to open mic and I was that guy that would put my name at the end of the list. And I wanted to play so badly, but I was so nervous that I just wanted to sit there and then leave and be like, oh, there's no time for Grant.
Right.
So I started doing some open mics, and the one I actually decided to put my name first on the list, I got called. It was like a day later and like, hey, would you come play a gig at our bar tonight or this Friday? Sure. So I realized, hey, I'm actually putting myself out there and I'm starting to book gigs. And from there, I started booking more and more. And then at that point, I was doing a lot of sales and things leading up to this. So I kind of put my business background into it and just started working and cold calling every bar and radio station and everybody that I could, and decided to make it a business.
And how'd that go for you?
Pretty good, man. I believe it was 2018 was when I started. 2019, I just went full force. I was like, it's now or never. We're not getting any younger. So I dove in, and I would stop at bars. I would call bars, vineyards, radio stations. I was calling up Bob 94.9, Nash FM, just to figure out who I can contact. I was trying to network through these people, something I kind of learned in Hollywood. And I just started using my business background. And from there, I started booking gigs. I think in 2019, between myself and my band and Sarah Sherris, my lead guitarist, she was playing with me at the time. I think her and I played like over 200 shows that year. And it was crazy. There were weeks I was playing 5 shows. There were days I was doing 3 back to back. And, just spreading my music. So it took off, and we were just playing everywhere.
So you mentioned having a band. You were a solo act.
I started solo. Yeah. I just wanted to get out there and make sure I could do it. And then I remember contacting John Harris. I don't know if you know John Harris. He books a lot for like Club XL. He does a lot of the booking around here. So Nancy and Newman, funny side story. I met Nancy and Newman when I was doing my modeling thing. I got put into Cosmopolitan magazine. I was nominated for Bachelor of the Year for Pennsylvania.
Interesting.
So I was the state Pennsylvania Bachelor. So I went on to Bob 94.9 to promote that magazine. And then a couple years later, I was on doing music with them.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So they gave me John Harris's information. And I'm like, perfect. I was like, I got the connection. John, I want to come play XL. It was like the biggest stage at the time.
Right.
XL. He's like, who are you? I'm like, I'm Grant Bryan. Dude, I've never heard your name. He said, maybe if I heard your name, I'd get you on. Spread your name more. So I was like, all right. But the whole thing was like, I don't even know who you are. I'm like, okay. So 3 months later, he called me.
That's exactly how it works too.
Yeah, man. You got to hustle. And, if you want people to know your name, you'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah. So it's always been said, but it can never be emphasized enough. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know.
It is. It is. I
And
mean, it's a mix of both, but the who is big.
the who and who knows about you as well.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
and yeah, granted, you have to be talented in order to get there.
For sure.
But you can be the most talented person in the world, but if ain't nobody know your name,
Ain't nobody hearing your music.
ain't nobody hearing your music,
Yeah.
ain't no one calling about you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you put this band together. What was that process like?
So I was at, I think my wife and I, she wasn't my wife at the time, but we were at, I think we were at the Sam Grow show at Club XL, or he was opening for, I think, Lee Brice or somebody. So my wife and I were there watching the show, and I seen Sam Grow, and I'm just watching him. I'm like, dude, this dude's killing it. I was like, I'm going to be on that stage. Because when John called me, it was to play outside before a show. So I was playing on their patio, and then the big guys, they had all the lights going. They had the smoke. They had the stage. And I was like, I want to be on that stage. So we're watching Sam, and then we're watching Lee Brice. So I just pull out my phone. I think I was like 3 beers in. And I was like, starting a band. I need a bass player, drummer, and a guitarist. Who's in? And then I started getting people messaging me. And so I put together a band and then started promoting myself as a band. And we made it from, and we were playing little shows at like hotels that wanted bands. That was my very first band gig. And I'm like, oh yeah, we've been playing for years. We'll come play for you. So we had 2 speakers, man. We went and we played. And I mean, from there, we ended up booking the Chameleon Club. We played XL, and then we just started moving.
So what was it like for you when the big thing happened in 2020 and everything shut down?
Oh my gosh, it was like hitting a brick wall. I felt like I was driving at 100 miles an hour and just came to a dead stop. Because like I said, 19, we played over 200 shows. And then I think the last show we opened up for, what was the band? It was at HMAC, but it was a big name band, and it was a great show. So like momentum was still going, and all of a sudden we just hit that wall. So it was kind of painful in a way, just because I didn't know what to do. Like mentally, I was going crazy. I'm like, I need to be playing shows. So I got myself some studio gear, and I started writing again a little more. I just kind of dove into that.
So tell me a little bit how your songwriting process has grown, changed, or evolved since you first started.
For sure. So, I mean, I think when you initially start writing, you kind of write about whatever you think people want to hear. You're listening to what's on the radio. Well, how do I write a song that's cool about whiskey and, driving my truck and whatever it is that people want to hear?
How do I hit that stereotypical country sound?
Exactly. And I started realizing that wasn't the way to do it.
No.
I released my song, Boy I Was Back Then, which was my first single. And I was so nervous. I remember we finished it up. I was working with Noah Althoff at the time.
Oh, Noah, no way.
Yeah. So Noah did my first single.
He was my first guest on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
I love Noah.
College friend.
Yeah. He's so cool, man. Such a good guitar player. So he was actually my guitar player in my first band too.
Nice.
Yeah. So he was first, and then he hung around for a while. And then I found Sarah Sheriff, when he was ready to just go do production and things like that. So he produced Boy I Was Back Then. And we produced it actually in a church, in like the basement of a church where he was doing recording out of. He probably told you about that in his section. And so we were doing it there, recorded Boy I Was Back Then. And then we released it, and it's your very first song. So you're kind of sweating bullets, and you're like, what is the world going to think of this? And instantly, like the next day, everybody's messaging like, dude, I love the song. I love it. I relate to it. And it's done well since then. But now Bad Habit is out, and it's surpassing everything that's done in like 5 years within like 3 months. But with that song, I literally just took my life and my experiences, and I laid them out in verses and choruses. And I realized that's what people want to hear. They want to hear what you've been through, things they can relate to, not just fun things to write about.
Yeah, no, it's always, I mean, the songs you hear on the radio were expertly crafted to be on the radio.
For sure.
And it's so impossibly hard to write stuff for that. It's so much easier instead to look at yourself and write what you have
Absolutely
to offer. And people are going to love you way more for that.
For sure. For sure.
So tell me a little bit about Bad Habit. You mentioned it kind of skyrocketed everything. We have that for to play.
Yeah. So Bad Habit was a fun song, man. So that song, the track for it, the instrumental, was actually a completely different song when I wrote it. And I wrote the song, and we got in the studio. We created the track for it, and I laid the vocals down, and I got it back, and I was just listening to it, and I was like, this isn't it. This isn't what this track needs. I liked the song. I said, but this isn't it. So I sat on that instrumental probably for 6, 7 months. And I kept thinking, I was like, what do I want to do with this? And I'd be driving to the gym or put my headphones in and just listen to it. And I'd be like, I know where I want to go. Now, what do I want to put to it lyrically? So I kind of had the idea of like, I was like, bad habits is like this girl or this thing. We have bad habits that we try to kick and just keep pulling us back in. I was like, how do I put that into words? So I was just sitting at home the one day and I just started thinking about, things that I was trying to quit and get out of my life a little in a way, and came up with bad habit. And it kind of plays on, like I said, things that normally just pull us in back in, or also that person that might just reel you in and pull you in. And you're like, I can't hang out with this person anymore. They're just bad for me.
Right.
But they send you a text late at night or they give you a call late at night. And next thing you know, you're at their house. And so I kind of compared it, cliche to like bad things for you with that person, like how alcohol or what might make you feel, face down on the ground the next day. Why'd I call that person? So that's where bad habit came from.
So this is Bad Habit by the Grant Bryan Band.
Just like that black label bottle that I can't put down. Just like that cloud of smoke pouring from my mouth. Got me driving way too fast across town to get me one more hit. I need one more round. That good stuff, sweet stuff, honey, honey on my lips. It's been a long hot day and you're my late night fix. Swearing it's the last time that I'm gonna let you pull me in. But you just want more bad habit I can't seem to quit. You get me feeling so good, so high that I don't wanna come down. But as soon as daylight breaks, I'm face down on the ground, waiting on the moonlight to light up my late night way. To get me one more sip, I need one more taste. That good stuff, sweet stuff, honey, honey on my lips. It's been a long hot day and you're my late night fix. Swearing it's the last time that I'm gonna let you pull me in. But you just want more bad habit I can't seem to quit. I can't seem to quit. Give it to me. You gotta say it, yes, baby, yes, but I wanna say no. You got me roped tight, and I just can't let go. That good stuff, sweet stuff, honey, honey on my lips. It's been a long, long day, and you're my late night fix. I swear it's the last time that I'm gonna let you pull me in. But you just want more bad habit that I can't seem to quit. I can't seem to quit.
And that was Bad Habit by Grant Bryan. I got to tell you, I love that kind of country where it's just a boom, clap, and it's just a jam.
Yeah. It was my guy Tyler, man. He came up with most of that. I gave him like a drop C sharp acoustic rhythm to play to, and that's just what came from it.
Drop C sharp.
Yeah.
What an interesting.
It's like a half step
yeah.
down, drop D. Yeah, but it just gives it. I don't know. It sounds
gritty.
grungy and yes, gritty and dirty, and I love that sound.
It's dirt road country almost.
Yes, man. I love writing in the key of D, but especially drop D. Especially that again, drop C sharp, like half step down. almost, I feel like I'll start writing songs and I'll realize I keep writing in the same keys, but I'm like, whatever, Dwight Yoakam did it. Like, so can I, Elvis wrote in the key of E constantly.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, like all your favorite songs from pop, funk, jazz, whatever's most likely in the key of E, D, G, or any of the open strings on the guitar. That's probably what it is.
Yep.
So it's always a refreshing take to hear something not usual, like drop C sharp.
For sure. I love it. You can get a really cool sound out of that.
Yeah. Especially, did I hear steel pedal too in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that must have been really fun for them to try to work with that.
Oh yeah, man. Tyler, he just, whatever you need, he can get it done.
That's awesome. So is that kind of the style or sound you're looking for? Or are you still looking for that sound?
I love that sound. So, I mean, everything I've been doing right now, everything's a little bit different, honestly. So like Gunning Them Down kind of has a little more bluesy, rocky feel to it. Almost, I really don't know how to explain that one. I mean, it kind of has that sound. It's still a half step down, which I love writing half step down. It just brings everything a little bit lower. But yeah, I may kind of gear more towards that Bad Habit sound as I continue. I feel like that's kind of where I sit comfortably.
I've always aspired to write a song with that kind of sound.
Yeah.
It's just always whenever like your Carrie Underwood or your Blake Sheltons or whenever like it comes on the radio, you just okay, this is it. I'm in a truck, I'm riding with my windows down. It's summertime.
Exactly.
And I'm jamming out to this country song.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about Gunning Them Down.
Yeah, so Gunning Them Down, it was kind of, what's the one song I'm trying to think of that it was kind of like my version of that. Anyways, it's just one of those songs which is kind of about just kind of the life I've been through right now, just chasing dreams and kind of living a little wild and reckless, especially through my 20s up until I hit about 30. Started slowing down a little bit and settling down and sitting back into things. But I just felt like I was constantly on the move, on the run, chasing the next dream, chasing the next part of the dream. It didn't matter what it was, writing the next song or just playing the next bar. Even now, I get a song done and I'm like, all right, what's next? I'm just in love with the next one. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was kind of one of those songs that's just, what's next for me and living that wild kind of dream chasing life is kind of what that was about. And I kind of tied it into more music, just running from town to town, playing show to show.
So this is Gunning Them Down by Garth Bryan.
You say that I'm a wild horse running through the Wild West, gunning them down like Jesse James. Living like an outlaw since the day I was born. And ain't a damn thing changed. Cause if you see that boy, you better run for the hills. He's a player of the game. Just another wild horse running through the Wild West, gunning them down. Well, so now I gotta roll out of this town. Let's go. Ain't no turning around. I'm just a dive-bar dreamer with a six-string honky-tonk knee. A dream shooter when the stars come out. Till I can roll. I stay calling them down. When I wake up in the morning, drink my coffee black before the rubber meets the road. Another long day, another country crowd, another late night show. I'm living life on the fast track, a rifle in my gunner rack, only thing on my mind. Try to get that money, find a pretty little honey that one day I'll call mine. But for now I gotta roll out of this town. Let's go. Ain't no turning around. I'm just a dive-bar dreamer with a six string on Tony, a dream shooting when the stars come out. So lock and load, stay coming down. Still coming down. Let's go. So now I gotta roll out of this town. Come on, let's go. Ain't no turning around. Yeah, so now I gotta roll out of this town. Let's go. Ain't no turning around. Just a dive bar dreamer with a six string on Tony, a dream shooting when the stars come out. So I can roll. Well, I stayed calling them down. Oh, well, I stayed calling them down. Well, I stayed calling them down. Oh, well, I stayed calling them down. I stayed calling them down.
And that's Gunning Them Down by Grant Bryan. And we kind of mentioned a little bit, alluded to, that one of the dreams you're chasing down now is your first full-length album.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that, about the process for that.
Sure. So, I mean, the album now, like we were saying earlier, my most important thing with writing is sharing my story now. And, you know, if you listen to my last EP, it was during 2020, and it was where I kind of fell into what kind of fun songs can I write? You know, what do people want to hear? And kind of fell away from really trying to share my story. So with this album now, my key component in it is having every song have meaning to it and having every song have a story to it. So I really want to put my life out there, the things that I've been through, you know, whether it's just chasing these dreams or, you know, I have a song that we're working on right now called I Do, which is kind of like, you know, my wife and I story, how we met, date 1, date 2, and it led to getting married, to Looking for Me, which is kind of just, I think we're going to play that then, but just kind of my battles through life, those depressed times, those times where you're really second guessing, you know, am I really doing this thing right? Is this really what what am I even doing anymore? And you kind of get stuck in those dark times. So Looking for Me was kind of my way of sharing, like, there always is a light at the end of that tunnel. Where, you know, boy, I was back then was just me kind of traveling from the young guy I was and building off of the lessons I've learned to become who I am today, gunning them down, you know, just sharing my, you know, wild and crazy days. You know, my daddy was a wild cowboy, and just kind of going from that. You know, I want to write some songs about the way I grew up. I've wrote some personal songs, you know, whether it's about, you know, when I was younger, my dad took off when we were young. So typical country song there.
Right.
Or my mom just being the cowgirl she was. She used to rope and ride when I was young, but she taught me a lot of good lessons, man. You know, and she was a hard worker growing up. So I got a lot of my work ethic from her. She, you know, blue collar family. So my thing is just to share some life in this album, these 10 songs. And it may not necessarily be, you know, they're not all going to be Bad Habit. You're going to have some love songs. You're going to have some heartbreak songs. You're going to have some songs about faith. And then you're going to also have your rockin' kind of country, grungy, dirty songs.
So are these, you're saying that these are more of a collection of songs as opposed to like a traditional album where it's
For
like
for sure. Yeah. So I feel like this one, I really want to kind of lay down, like, you know, my story, however that may be, you know, and I've had so many, like I said, growing up, my main artists that I were really influenced by, you know, Garth, George Strait, Keith Whitley, Elvis Presley. My mom was a big Elvis Presley fan. But then, you know, as country furthered out of the 90s era into the early 2000s, you know, I really began listening to people like Keith Urban. He was a big, you know, kind of influenced me back then. I think I would go out and buy every album and it would come out. So, you know, songs like he had, like Sweet Thing and all of his stuff that was just, he was a great player, but also a great writer. And he had so many, I feel like he had that kind of album where you could have a rockin' song and then you would have like this sweet love song or just like this heartbreak song. And that's kind of life in general. So this album is going to kind of break those things down a little more.
So what are some of the challenges that you're finding as you're creating this album?
Honestly, there's not as many challenges trying to write about real life stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You just kind of, I think that the challenge is actually sitting down and getting the words on paper. You know, how do I want to share this story? What's going to make it stand out? What's going to make people envision what I'm trying to tell them?
What's the best way to
Exactly. How do I
tell the
share
story?
this?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So just getting those words on paper and then finding the rhythm. But it's just a lot of it's kind of been flowing since I've been really trying to like dig into where I've come from to where I am now.
That's awesome. Well, we're gonna take a listen to "Looking for Me." This is just a mix.
So this should be, I mean, it's pretty much the final mix.
Mhm.
It's not the mastered version, but it's going to give them an idea. They'll hear what they're going to hear on iTunes and on Friday.
Oh, this is a pre-release for your drop on Friday. So here,
Yes.
take a listen.
It's been a while now since I've seen you. You've been gone for quite a while. These days get cold without you here with me. But on my face I'll wear this smile. Yeah, I've searched high and low. I've been tossed around, holding on to nothing but hope. Walk broken roads through fire and hell, drown in misery. That's where I've been. Just looking for me. Consumed by the dark, trying to find the light. I couldn't tell morning from night. I was falling downhill like a rolling stone. Just a long lost soul trying to get back home. Yeah, I've searched high and low. I've been tossed around, holding on to nothing but hope. Walked both the roads through fire and hell, drown in misery. That's where I've been. Just looking for me. Oh, looking for me. And I was down on both my knees. And I was begging, praying, please, for you to take me by my hand and to lead me back from where I've been. 'Cause I've searched high and low. I've been tossed around, holding on to nothing but hope. Walk broken roads through fire and hell, drown in misery. But then I found you. You let me right back here to me. Oh, and I found you. You let me right back here to me. Yeah, I found you. Just looking for me.
And that was "Looking for Me" and that drops this Friday.
Yeah.
When does your rest of your album drop?
The goal is September. So
September.
I'm looking to do a single every month until September, and then we'll drop the final album in September. So I think that'll leave me with like 7 singles, and then 3 new songs will come on the full album.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So we were kind of talking about this beforehand, but tell me about the process of, COVID kind of shut everything down, so you're having to rebuild from ashes essentially.
Uh-huh.
Tell me a little bit about how you're doing that in regards to your promotion.
Sure. As far as like promoting the album or
Promoting your music yourself.
Sure. So I mean, as far as that goes, it was kind of, taking that step back and doing like the hard business work again. You got to sit down, you got to cold call the bars, email the bars. There's a lot of bars that, some of them shut down that aren't open anymore that we used to play. New ones have opened up. So it's just kind of putting that groundwork back in. Last year was really cool. Last year was a lot of just referrals to me. Like I didn't make a single call. Now this year I tried to slow it down a little bit in the beginning just to dial in more on the album, my writing, and my promoting. So I've been trying to use a lot of the social media platforms a little bit more, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and get more into creating content. So I've been doing, every release now I'll do a lyric video, which you can go to YouTube and you can see, and it's just the lyrics change and they go with the song. So you can see the lyrics to the music. I want to start doing an acoustic version for every song and then like a story behind the song. Let people know where the song came from. Maybe they can relate to that story. And that's how I'm doing my promoting now. And that seems to be working pretty good. TikTok is great. Bad Habit, when it released, I got this notification and it was like, the person was Twanger of the Day. So he takes country songs that he thinks releases, but he's got like hundreds of thousands of followers. And I got this notification. I was tagged in a video and it was this dude. And he's like, these are some country songs that just released. You got to hear. And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking, and then he has my song in there, and that helped. You know what I mean? So networking, connecting, going to these people's TikTok pages and just liking their stuff and messaging and things like that, that's going to draw them to you. So that's how I've been trying to do a lot of my stuff now, just that groundwork of networking and creating content.
So what are you excited for this coming year? You got a lot of shows, or I know you said you were kind of working on your album, but
yeah. So working on the album is my favorite thing, man. Like when we get a new song, and my producer, he just sent me a vocal comp for the new one we were working on Friday. So that's always exciting. But this year we're playing a lot more like fairs and a few bigger stages. So we're playing the Elizabethtown Fair, which is a pretty big fair, and that's my hometown. So I get to play the hometown stage this year on the big stage. So that's going to be exciting. And then we also have a couple other fairs, some other big shows, and just the release of my music. I think that's the most exciting part to me, getting my music out. The playing is fun, performing is fun, but I really want to be more of like a what's the word I'm looking for? An original artist. So I don't want to be out there playing 3 hours of covers. I'd rather be out there playing, 2 hours of my music and then an hour of, covers people might enjoy that get them dancing a little bit to pull them in. But I want to share my music. So really dialing that in this year is exciting to me.
So where are you on that track of being able to be an original artist as opposed to a cover artist with some originals in?
Sure. So once we get all 10 songs done for the album, that'll put me at 17 originals. And then I also have some others that won't be recorded quite yet, but we're going to keep moving, a new song every month. And then as soon as this album's done, I'll be working on the next one. So I'm thinking by next summer, we should at least have 2 full sets of my own music.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what do you do in the meantime? Surely you're doing shows sporadically.
Yeah. So we're doing shows almost getting, as towards summer. Like I said, I slowed down beginning of the month to dial in on my stuff. So I was doing maybe a show every other weekend, or usually 2. I would skip a weekend to focus on my stuff, get in the studio. But now it's going to be a back to every weekend. So I'll be playing a lot of shows out, singing my songs, promoting my music, and then I'll be singing the Elvis and the Dwight Yoakam and the Garth Brooks, on top of that, the other stuff people want to hear, and just doing the promoting for my stuff. So yeah, I'll be playing out a lot this year. Like I said, the fairs, more breweries. We'll be up at Allenbury next month, doing a lot of private parties. Those are always fun. People, they see you out and they're like, hey, would you play a graduation party or a birthday party?
So Allenbury is a great spot.
I heard.
Sure.
I heard.
So going on to the questions I'd like to ask all my guests. Here's a question for you. Where do you think the country, the genre, where do you see it going? Where do you want to push it to with your music?
Sure. So I mean, it's where I see it going, man. I would love to. One of my overall goals, and it's been for a long time. I've gone to concerts here is to play the Giant Center.
Mm.
I would love to be an artist playing my music in the Giant Center. So that's a big goal of mine. Other than that, I'd love to see, releasing a song and having it get out on Spotify, iTunes, and within that first week, seeing a couple 100,000 streams. Not necessarily for the money, just to know people are hearing the music. And
So you don't make money off those platforms anyway.
oh man, it's so hard. It's so hard. You need like millions of streams. You'll check your DistroKid account. You release a new song
Right.
and you got a couple bucks dropping in. And you're like, I'm almost able to pay for the next song.
Right.
Yeah, so you're hardly making money on that. But yeah, man, I want to do what people like. You see like Ryan Upchurch. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's a country artist, but he's a wild dude. But he's just one of them independent artists that did it all on his own. And that's my overall goal. I love business. I love sales. I love marketing. And I love music. So if I can do it all on my own, whether it's with hiring the right people or having the right people around me to help me and get me there, but I'm not really looking for that record deal. I want to do everything on my own. I want to be the business guy. I want to be the person in charge of marketing. I want to be the person in charge of getting the music done and running my own ship. You know what I mean? I don't want to have anybody ever to tell me, you can't do that. You can't sing that. You shouldn't wear that.
It's always nice to own yourself.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the overall goal. Continue to do what I love and make a living doing it.
So what do you think some of the mistakes that maybe you've made or you've seen others make in this field, and how can we curb that for the future generations?
For sure. And I think in the beginning, for me, it was just so gung-ho on trying to get out to play that I was overbooking myself. Now, if your goal is to just sing covers and to play bars, local bars, and be a cover band, that's awesome. But if your goal is to be an independent artist and really sing your songs and share your story, I'd say don't get so wrapped up in playing the music out live right away. You really got to dial in on your craft and the art that you're trying to display, because that'll get put on the back burner if the only thing you're doing is playing show after show after show and you burn yourself out.
Not only that, but even if you want to become an original songwriter, don't forget, in order to be a good songwriter, you have to have good experiences to write about.
Exactly.
So don't forget. So I see a lot
Experience life.
a lot of young artists want to get right into singer-songwriting, and they're wondering why their songs aren't so good. It's because, well, you're young and you haven't had a lot of life to live with.
Your experience is a pen and paper right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Or a computer or a phone.
Or whatever you heard on the radio.
Yes.
It's okay. It takes a while to get, and I'm not telling you not to write when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't think it's going to be, as honed in as when you grow older and you come back to those things and you're going to find, oh, wow. I mean, that happens for every artist.
For
you
sure.
hate your first songs, right?
Dude, I still get vocal comps, and there's times where I'm like, it's your voice. So it always throws you for a loop. But one of the other things too that I've been learning over time, especially for new artists coming up, is like, don't try to sound like somebody else. And I know that's cliche. Everybody says that, but don't try to be the next, Taylor Swift and a lot of people, when they hear their songs, like, well, I don't sound like Taylor. I don't sound like Carrie Underwood.
Doesn't matter. It's a good thing.
Just make sure that your pitch is good, but let your voice be its own thing, because everybody has their own voice. Don't try to sound like somebody else. Be okay with what you sound like and perfect that.
Taylor Swift didn't get big trying to sound like someone else. She got big for being Taylor Swift.
Yes. Yeah. She had her own sound. And when you listen to those that are on the radio, like Blake Shelton don't sound like George Strait, don't sound like Garth Brooks, don't sound like Brooks and Dunn. They all have their own sound.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you need to be okay with and dial in on and really perfect you, not trying to perfect being like somebody else.
So have you perfected your sound yet? Or is that something
it's still getting there? And I think it's on the way now. And I'm figuring it out more and more with every release. I'm figuring out where I can go vocally, where I can push, how to get that high note out. You know what I mean? And where my sound is and just really getting comfortable kind of in my own skin and within my voice and finding that voice. So the more I do it, the more comfortable I get with it, the more comfortable I get with hearing my voice back, but it still never gets normal. Even like there was an interview with Seth MacFarlane. He's like, dude, even when I hear my voice on these shows, he's like, I got to pretend I'm somebody else listening to me, or I cringe. And so I'll do that sometimes. I'll be getting a demo back and I'll be like, all right, let's listen to this new Eric Church album. And I'll pretend it's like Eric Church. You know what I mean? That way I'm not, oh man, that's terrible.
That's so interesting.
And you hear it differently when you pretend it's somebody else.
I'll have to do that with my stuff.
Yeah, man. Because
never thought about it.
Yeah,
like that.
Seth MacFarlane laid out some good advice there.
And as he should, he voices all the characters
For
on all the
sure.
shows.
He's
That
amazing.
would drive someone mad, I'm
Oh,
sure.
oh yeah.
So, what is one of the most here's a question I like to ask all my guests. What is one of the most funniest or worst things that ever happened to you on a gig?
Funniest or worst things that ever happened on a gig? Ah, I don't know. That's a good one. I really got to think back. We've played so many shows. I don't know.
Nothing popping straight to your head?
I mean, I think recently I've been in this trend of leaving my zipper down. So my wife's always like, "Babe, your zipper's down." I'm like, "Oh, damn." So I remember I was sitting there one time and I'm playing. I looked down, my zipper's down. So I pulled my guitar. I had to zip it up quick and spin back and keep playing. I was like, hopefully nobody saw that. But other than that, I don't think I've really had any like real embarrassing moments that I can think of anyways.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, there have been a couple like bad vocal performances where you're just so into it. Like, I don't know if you've seen the clips going around of Bailey Zimmerman where he's like screaming into the mic and dude got roasted for it. But you know, you have them performances where you think you're killing it, and then you hear it back and you're like, ooh. Yeah, that's some tape we got to go over and fix some parts. But nothing real bad that I could think of.
So, tell me then. We have you're a Christian. We kind of talked about this beforehand. What is one of the times that you feel most in tune with God?
Honestly, man, for me, it's just kind of my quiet times, or even sometimes in the morning, I drive and I just like to talk. You know, like talk to God and you know, ask for the things that I'm looking for in life and thank Him for the things that I've received in life. And you know, even just sitting at home, sometimes I read and then I'll just kind of get down and pray and then kind of go into like a meditation. And those are the times I feel it most.
And so, do you want to incorporate your faith into your music? I know we kind of talked about a little
For
bit
sure.
that.
So looking for me kind of is that if you listen to the bridge, which leads into the final chorus, like I said, I felt for like a long time, I kind of fell away from faith and just, I wouldn't say like wasn't a believer, but I was just kind of chasing everything and, you know,
Put it to the back burner.
yeah, everything was on the back burner and it kind of puts you in a dark place. And then, so the bridge in there is, you know, I was down on both my knees, begging, praying, please, for you to take me by my hand and lead me back from where I've been. And that was just my kind of way of talking to God and saying like, look, it's in your hands now, you know, lead me back to where I need to be and help me attain these goals and get to where I want to be in life. So I feel like, yeah, when you really do believe, whatever your faith is, you know, in God or your faith that you will get where you want to be, you know, with, in my opinion, that's God's help.
So, you talked a lot about networking and how much that has helped you. And in what ways do you find, how do you network in order to get the next gig, in order to get to the next person that you actually really want to get to, or something other?
For sure. So, I mean, in networking literally is just going from one person to the next. And again, like on social media is a great way to network. I mean, it's social networking, you know what I mean? So I'll go on to pages and I'll follow people or I'll start,
leaving comments or
yes, leaving comments. I'll even message, like I'll literally like people that'll probably never hear my music unless I meet them in person, but like I'll literally send my music to people that are stars right now and be like, hey, just drop the song, check it out. And, you know, on occasion, actually somebody will listen to it, like, oh, I really like this. Thanks for sending it. You know, and it's somebody that's got 1 million followers or 500,000 followers, 100,000, more than me. So I say, just go for it, man. If you think, you know, you want somebody to hear your song, send it to them. Figure out who does music. Like if you want your music in TV, like go research. You got to do research. You know what I mean? Find out who picks the songs for Yellowstone, who picks the songs for these Disney movies, and find them on Twitter, find them on Instagram, and just be relentless. You know, Chameleon Club, things like that. I emailed them, I think 3-4 times before they let me in, but it's just being relentless and not accepting no. Like no's are the stepping stones to a yes.
So say a lot of no's are no's for right now.
Exactly.
And when we say be relentless politely.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't be out there rudely, man, you need to let me in there.
Yeah.
Screw you. You said no to me. All right, cool, man. Well, I'll see you in a month and I'll be better. You know what I mean?
Right.
Use that as motivation, but use those no's like as stepping stones, because like I said, after every couple no's, there's always a yes around the corner. I see people get frustrated because a bar don't want to let them play. Like I've had bars tell me no so many times, But then I had a bar say yes, and then another one say yes, and then I'm playing every single weekend. Lots of no's and tons of yeses.
And it's okay to be said no to. It's
For
not.
sure.
It's you're not deserving of a yes.
No, nobody deserves a yes. I mean, you got to prove your worth. And a lot of these people, they do like to see the persistency.
Mhm.
Dang, this is his third time. Maybe we'll give him a shot. I don't know who he is, but he might be worth
He's
it.
got a
And
good work ethic.
yes, and then you get in and you prove why you should be there, and they'll call you back.
Yeah, and I can't. You mentioned commenting on big artists or sending your stuff to them. That's a really great way to do it. It might seem like, oh, they won't listen to my stuff because they're too big. But a lot of those people in the big shots are really nice people.
They are. They're just like you.
Yeah,
I learned a lot of that in Hollywood.
yeah, right.
Yeah, man.
And granted, yeah, there are some people. There are the meanies in the big industry.
Oh, for sure.
That's fair.
But they're usually your corporate suits.
Exactly. They're always the suits.
Yep.
And anybody who is just whoever owns their actual social media is going to be a great person.
For sure. Yep.
And they might just send you a message saying, "Hey, like your stuff, whatever." And that's okay.
Yeah.
The only opportunities you miss are the ones you don't take, and that
For sure.
can't be said enough.
Yep. And then just the releasing, music. I released a bunch of songs before, like I said, Bad Habit was my best, which so far, I think in like a month and a half or 2 months is sitting at like almost 50,000 streams. Where before that, I think my max was like 5 or 10,000, so you got to keep moving through. Like a lot of people get discouraged too. They drop a song and shit, it only has 150 streams. And then they stop. Like, I didn't get there. My song didn't do what I wanted it to. Well, write another song and release it again. Do another one after that.
Right. It doesn't matter.
No.
Because it's not about all the views and don't get wrapped up in the views and the likes and the comments are the engagement aspect of your music. You're writing music because you like to write music, not because you want, granted, you love the people to hear it.
For sure.
That's not the goal.
No.
It should never be the goal.
No. And I used to get wrapped up in that too. It's very easy to get wrapped up in what's that person think. Well, it's more important about what you think. Do you love the song? Do you like the song? Well, now show the world why you love the song.
And it's not, and everyone is going to like a song, not like a song, feel indifferent about a song of yours, and it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Granted, you can have those core circle of friends that will be honest with you. Right? That's not a problem.
No.
But your average Joe just listening, I don't like that song. Don't take that to heart. That's just one average Joe person who who has no connection other to you besides being in the bar with you.
For sure.
So with all this said,
yep.
What's your next show? When can people find you at?
Yeah. I got to look at the calendar. I don't have my wife here to tell me. She keeps me in line. Next weekend, I'll be at Grandview Vineyard in Mount Joy. So I'll be doing an acoustic there. That's always a good time. It usually gets pretty full. They got a really cool, just like long wooden room. So you don't really have to crank your system. It just carries. But it gets very fun. So I'll be there, and then I'm doing a country club that Saturday, which is only open to the members. So if you are a member of the York Country Club, you can come there. So the Outdoor Country Club in York. Followed by that, we'll be moving into May, and then it goes Hook and Flask in Carlisle. Then the week after that, I'll be at the Allenberry. Then we're doing a benefit, which my wife is in charge of. She does a Canines for Warriors benefit. So it's a really cool organization. So we'll be at Cox Brewing on May 13th, benefiting Canines for Warriors. Yeah.
So, and you can find all of that on your social media. It's all at Grant Bryan
Music.
And you have a website?
Yes, grantbryan.com.
So be sure to check him out all of there. Is there anything else you want to say to the masses before we sign off?
That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Be sure to go follow this guy's podcast, The Story, and lots of cool stuff coming up in the future for sure.
Absolutely. And I'll give a little insight to that. My name is Corey Rosen. This is The Story Podcast. You can find all of our stuff over at CoreyRosenProductions.com. That's CORYROSEN Productions.com. We have some incredible guests coming up this week. We have not only Grant Bryan, but tomorrow we have Jessica Smucker. She is a singer-songwriter from the area who does singer-songwriter rounds at Zootropolis, and she has a vast wealth of her own music that she would like to share with us. And this Friday, we got Javier from the Heads or Tails Experience, a great local funk, rock, jazz, blues band. They were nominated for a CPMA just last month. So it was great meeting them there, and we're gonna have a great conversation about that here. The 23rd that's next Sunday will be our very own little award show, the Story Awards, where we like to give recognition to the artists in the area. Just a little fun shindig where people can get together, network, and we're going to be having a jam session afterwards. So that'll be a lot of fun. And that will be at 4 o'clock over at Switchboard Studios, which is above the Columbia Kettleworks over at Columbia, PA. So be sure to come out to that. And then that'll be all for that'll be all I'll tell you for now. Otherwise, we have our singer-songwriter round starting up. Our own singer, we're calling it the Songwriter Studio. It's where we grab 3 or 4 other artists in the area, sit them here, and we're creating a song live within an hour, ready to send off to a studio where we can actually record, produce, and release it. And that is starting up May 1st with some great friends of mine. So I'm really excited to get that underway. Otherwise, we are starting re-ramping up our productions on the single reviews and the album reviews, where we take random albums or singles from the area. Granted, you have to submit those so that way we know they exist. And we go over them with a fellow artist in the area, just giving you some pointers, our feedback, constructive criticism. The points don't matter, but it's always great to get new artists a chance to have their music heard and a little bit of critique here and there. So if you would be interested in that, go over to CoreyRosenProductions.com. You can sign up for all of our services there. With all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you guys later. Bye.